Welcome back to the 305K podcast. We're here to preview the 2025 Italian Grand Prix. It's an exciting race. I think we're looking at more of the championship battle. I'm looking at Ferrari. Hopefully, we're going to bounce back after a really, really bad Dutch Grand Prix. But we all know Monza. We all love Monza. It's a great track, lots of overtaking, lots of action, and I'm really excited to see this race get to go.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I love Monza. I've loved it ever since I started watching the sport in 2022,
Mhm.
and it's just it holds a special place in my heart. I got to go
Yeah.
visit it this summer. I got to take a lap around the tracks, go on the podium. There's history at that track that you
Hmm.
really feel when you're there. There was a random guy that just goes to the track every day that offers tours of the old big oval just because he
Yeah,
loves
for the
it.
banking.
I don't even know if he was going to charge us. He just loves it and he loves to talk about racing. So it's an awesome place. It's
Yeah.
full of racing history, obviously, and it's going to be a pretty awesome race, I'm sure.
Well, and not to mention, last year Ferrari Leclerc had that huge win in Monza, and I remember watching on TV. It was surreal, and I mean, this is a place that has so much history, there's so much culture, but it's also a really big home race, especially for Ferrari. But also, when you look down the track, there's another team that's home is right near here, being Racing Bulls, as well as Kimi Antonelli, driving for Mercedes, but it's his home race as an Italian. So there's a lot of emotion that's riding high in this race, and especially for a lot of the Italian fans watching their Italian driver after he T-boned Charles Leclerc in Dutch Grand Prix. I'm still not over it. If I was a TSA agent in Italy, I would not stamp his passport and I would tell him to turn around. But that's just me.
You know, I can't exactly say I agree with that because I would like to see Kimi Antonelli race this weekend, but you know, I understand where your feelings are coming from.
Yeah, I talked about it too much last episode, and I've talked about it already too much this episode. I cannot believe that he took Leclerc out. But we're getting bogged down here. The big story is, in my opinion, Ferrari. Even though the championship is between the two McLarens, I think at least for one weekend we kind of put that on hold, and the story turns to the Ferrari drivers, where both of them are coming off bad weekends, and Hamilton specifically really had a rough go of it in the Dutch Grand Prix. I mean, he spun twice in the two of the three practice sessions, crashed in the race. It just wasn't there. And I really hoped that coming out of the break, he was going to look better than before, but it just
Yeah.
wasn't there in the Dutch Grand Prix. And the question is, does the Italian Grand Prix and the pressure that comes with it build him up or break him down?
I personally think it'll build him up. He loves moments like this. He loves Silverstone, his home
Mm-hmm.
race. And I think coming to this race, he obviously knows how big of a race it is for Ferrari. And I really think he's going to live up to the moment rather than crash down, like you said.
Yeah, and I think that I mean, it kind of doesn't work. You don't really have games, but he is a big game player. He plays to the moment. And I think he's always had this really good mentality of not quite Lewis versus the world, but he's still rising, still I rise, his moniker. He really
Mm-hmm.
works at that pressure makes diamonds kind of idea. And I think that he's not going to get back on his game by, you know, playing it easy, playing it safe. He's going to get back on his game by working hard. And he's going to have a race like this, a performance that he puts in that's going to spur him back onto the horse and get him back into the game.
Yeah, I really do think it'll be a good week for both the Ferraris. They always seem to be fast here, no matter how bad of a season they have. I mean, last year they finished
Mm-hmm.
P2 in the constructors, but it really wasn't an incredible season. But yet they still won in Monaco and Monza.
Yeah. Well, and that
And
that journey that journey into second in the constructors really started, I think, in the second half of the season in Monza, where they had a few races where it really came back to within, reaching distance in the constructors, and it started in Monza. It started with
Mhm.
a great strategical decision by Fred Vasseur that led to Leclerc winning that race, and then there was the U.S. Grand Prix and the Mexico Grand Prix where they backed it up with two more wins. I really think that Monza kind of exists outside of the F1 calendar. Like it feels like every year the script that is being written going into Monza is completely different than what happens in Monza,
Mhm.
especially with Ferrari. And last year it was really nice. They kind of sold away the mid part of the season. Some of their really poor, really disappointing performances were kind of erased from the memory, kind of eliminated because of how well they did in Monza with that win. And whether they can do that again this year is yet to be seen. I kind of think that it's within their power. At the same time, I really do question whether anyone besides the McLarens can win a race.
Yeah, and I mean, at the moment, it really doesn't seem like it. They are both going toe to toe, and I mean, whether you want to mention Lando's thing or not,
Oh,
like,
Lando's taboo DNF. Yeah, I mean it's important to talk about. He's given. Well, I shouldn't say he's given because it wasn't his fault. But McLaren has now got a split between the two drivers by about 34 points, and I think Oscar Piastri is going to be looking to take the driver's seat in this race. And I think that it's a really, really big opportunity. It's a big delta. Whoever finishes, I think Lando needs to finish above Oscar this race if he's going to win the championship. And whether
mhm.
that's P1 to P2, P2 to P3, even I don't know, but he needs to get a step up on this teammate because it's gonna cascade away from him pretty quickly if he racks up finishes behind his teammate.
Yeah, and like the more races go on, the less opportunity he's going to have, like
Yeah, the
less
window
opportunities
definitely
to score
closes.
points. He needs to just win this race and at the least get some back from Oscar.
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit of a stretch to say must win because you still have 8 races after, but it's as close as you can get. And I think that for Lando, he kind of needs the momentum. I
Ever
don't yeah, I don't think he's as good as Piastri personally, but he can kind of go on a run if he builds up a little bit of confidence and kind of pushes it into his performance.
Yeah, I mean, almost every race is must win for him, and at the least finish second. And he can only do
Yeah.
that twice if Oscar's going to keep winning races. Which
Hmm.
I think to say that the McLarens will win every single race upcoming is realistic, but it feels like a bit of a stretch. But
Yeah, I agree with that.
he really needs to finish first, I think.
Yeah, I do think he's got to get these race wins in, and it doesn't it all roads lead through winning races for Lando if he wants to challenge for the championship. And I think he's going to need a little bit of luck. He's going to need a little bit of engine blowout from Oscar, or a stray like Kimi coming in at the apex of the corner without braking and spinning him around and putting him to the wall, or just some outside reason, maybe a mistake from Oscar and a street track taking off like his suspension wall. He needs a little bit of help at this point. And even if he starts to get these results over Piastri, he's gonna need a little bit of gamesmanship from the rest of the field to help him out a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I also think that below them, obviously, they kind of have put themselves in a tier above everyone else. And we talked about Ferrari, and I obviously care deeply about Ferrari. They've had kind of a stronghold on second place for a while that kind of seems to be comfortable because they should be there comfortably. At the same time, double DNF in the Dutch Grand Prix has really shortened the gap between them and Mercedes and even Red Bull. And I do wonder if we usually see the Italian Grand Prix as a chance for Ferrari to get like a big boost in performance. At the same time, a result here that goes against them and maybe loses them second place in the constructors could do a really, really strong job of the opposite, I think.
Absolutely. It's a big race for Ferrari. They are probably coming in thinking this needs to be our opportunity, and it really does. They always perform well. I don't even think saying always is a stretch. Like they really
Well,
do.
I mean, you do look back. 2019, Leclerc won it, but at the same time, uh, Vettel, I think, finished 14th, or maybe didn't even finish. I think sometimes when they're really struggling in the season, it can serve to be as another kicker to kind of push them down. But it's definitely fair to say for the most part.
Yeah, it's just they need to score points. They need to score big points and really almost grab a chokehold on this like second place in the constructors and really
Yeah.
solidify themselves as in that position.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know I kind of have hopes that mix with my predictions, but I think it's important to get into our predictions. You are
Yeah.
right now leading me by, I believe, 5 points in
Yeah,
the
I think it was
predictions championship, mostly due to correctly predicting Oscar Piastri's race winner. Um, we're back again this week. I know my predictions are better this week. I know I'm going to have a say in the game here. I think I'm going to get back in. So, I mean, we have to start with pole. And for me, it's not going to be an interesting prediction. I think that the track, the Monza track is wonderful, but it's not. It's very much based on your car. I think there's not too much that separates the teams, so it's going to be a close qualifying. But I do think that McLaren kind of have a pretty strong step up here, and between the two McLaren boys, I got to pick Oscar Piastri. And it's not interesting. It's boring. It's contrived. But he's just been the better driver. And I think that he's been the better qualifier all year. And I just don't see that changing here.
yeah, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I think Oscar Piastri is gonna take pole. It's again boring, but he's gonna keep his momentum from the Dutch Grand Prix and bring it right into qualifying and storm onto pole, I think.
Yeah. All right. Next we have race winner and then the podium. What do you think?
You want to say it at the same time?
Sure. Give me a
All
countdown.
right. All right. 3, 2, 1. Lewis
Lewis
Hamilton.
Hamilton. Yes.
Yeah, boy.
Oh my God. I thought I was going to be the lone one out here because I just had to pick him. I mean, I look back at last year and I find a way to ground it in reality here. I mean, he's got a bad performance he's going to bounce back from, obviously. He's Lewis Hamilton. He's that guy. And last year with Mercedes, he finished, I think, fifth. He finished fifth or sixth. He finished ahead of his teammate, which didn't happen all that much last year. He's experienced. We know he's going to be in there. I can't see. I want a Ferrari. I want to be able to put a Ferrari up there, and I don't really see Leclerc getting back to back. It would also be wonderful. I would not complain. But I feel like it's going to be the Lewis Hamilton day. I feel like it's going to be the awakening of the Ferrari driver of Lewis Hamilton. I can imagine the podium celebrations already.
Yeah, I can just see him running out there and celebrating with the Tifosi just all crowded throughout the track. And, when I was on the podium, I was just imagining what it's like to be up there as a Ferrari driver, just looking
Yeah,
down on the crowd, everyone supporting you. And Lewis, I just think he's going to come into Monza and take it and just like show everyone,
just
like,
get the
yeah,
job
I'm
done.
here as a Ferrari driver, like winning this fabled race.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think
hope
it.
it
I think it.
happens. I think it could. And it'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think it's my. I don't think it's my brain talking when I make that prediction. I think that if you're Lewis Hamilton, this is the great chance to get it all back. I mean, it's no secret the season has not gone the way that he wants it. It's not gone the way that Ferrari fans want it. It can all turn around. It can all be written differently if he wins this race or even lands in the podium this race. I think all he needs to do is get up there and look out over the sea of red. I think that we won't remember this. Well, I hesitate to say that. I will remember the season for the mistakes he's had, but individual performances, you remember being on the podium at Monza. You remember winning at Monza more than anything else. And that's what I would remember too going into another season. There is hope there if you can do a really good job this weekend.
Yeah, I agree.
All
What's
right.
the rest of your podium looking like?
All right. So it gets significantly less interesting once we get past Lewis Hamilton. I kind of felt like if I was going to put out that ridiculous of a guess, I kind of needed to put a realistic casing around it. So P2, I have Oscar Piastri, and P3, I have Lando Norris. I think that it's what you expect in terms of the other two. If you had to pick two, it's going to be the two McLarens, in my opinion. And I think that it's going to be a disappointing result for Lando because he does need that. He does need that leg up on Oscar, and I just don't think it's going to happen. And I think it's going to be an interesting situation where you don't have McLaren winning for the first time, but at the same time, it still goes Oscar's way. So I have Piastri 2, Norris 3.
So for my 2 and 3, I'm gonna have a flip of Tucker, and I'm gonna have Lando Norris finishing in P2, and I'm gonna have Oscar Piastri finishing in P3. I
Yeah.
think Oscar is gonna. I wouldn't say get cocky, but I just think Lewis is gonna come out of nowhere and win the race, and Lando's gonna be like, I need to be Oscar here,
Yep.
and come out of and just drive better than them. And I think it might be close at the end, but I think
Mm-hmm.
Lando's gonna make a move late that we're like
Yeah.
looking
I
back.
think it wouldn't surprise me if it goes the way of like if we're if Lewis Hamilton is P1 in this situation. This is all hypothetical, but in this specific situation where we have Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri behind Lewis Hamilton, I could see a McLaren going for a move and Hamilton just putting his car in the middle and saying, "This is my only chance of winning a race. Give me a penalty, FIA, but he's not getting by me." And then the other guy, maybe gets ahead of uh, the other McLaren driver because of their over ambitions. I don't know. I think it's pretty fair to assume that there's going to be two McLarens on the podium here. And I also
Yeah.
think it's fair to assume there's going to be a Ferrari somewhere in the mix. But the order that we have is I can't say that it's the status
The
quo.
smartest.
Yeah, I can't really think. I think in about 2 days I'm gonna look back at this and think that wasn't very smart at all.
It probably
Okay.
isn't, but
Yeah.
I think it's good to believe and good to
Yeah. Well, I can't
bel
I can't go into the race with my like hoping that my predictions are right and that a Ferrari isn't on the podium. That would just be sad.
yeah.
I have to predict a little bit with my heart as much as my brain. Um,
Yeah.
Next up we have points. Um, I think
Yeah.
surprise points is a hard one. There's not that many people that are big surprise points. I think that there's like a fair amount of people who you can include and pick between. My pick is going to go to Franco Colapinto here. I think that he finished in the points here last year. He's not had a good season, but he had a little bit of an encouraging drive in the Netherlands. I think that it has to happen at some point. And I hesitate to use that terminology of like, well, eventually he's going to have to get a point. But I do think that it comes to a head at some point during the season. And I think that he's a better driver than what he's shown so far. And I'm not a
Yeah.
huge supporter of his, but I do think that it's going to come across here and he's going to get a point or two.
I think that's fair. For points, I have Carlos Sainz. I know he's been in the points like a couple of times this year,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that coming back to Monza, a place that definitely means a lot to him, formerly driving for Ferrari, like I just think he'll come back. He's driven it well. The Williams is usually fast at this track.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll come out with some points.
Yeah, and I think it is a little bit sad to me that he's someone you can pick for surprise points because he's definitely one of the people who it would be a little bit of a surprise. He just has really struggled, and it happened again in the Dutch Grand Prix. He had that incident where I mean he got penalized, which I thought was a little bit ridiculous, but at the same time, he wasn't really lighting up the track, excluding the penalty. So I think that it would be nice for him to get back on track in Monza. All
I
right, next one we
agree.
got Flop. You go.
Um, I'm gonna say George Russell. And it might be a big name for a flop, and he still might finish in the points, but it just I don't know. It's almost the same feeling I had with Kimi Antonelli. It's like I don't know why, but I feel like something could happen. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Well,
think
you
something will
predicted really well
happen.
last week with Kimi Antonelli. I have to be honest.
Oh man,
I give
that
you my
hurt.
respect for that. That was a strong prediction.
Yeah, that was. Oh man, that was
And I don't want to talk
that
about Kimi Antonelli
that
anymore.
was a prediction.
I really don't want to talk about him.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I don't think anything like too crazy is gonna happen, but I feel like Russell something might happen a bit weird.
Hmm.
Maybe a turn one incident of some
Yeah, he
sort.
had that last year. He went off a
Yeah,
turn. He started third on the grid, and turn one, he kind of messed up his braking. I think he went off and had to go through the runoff area, and ended up maybe even costing him a race win because Leclerc went up to third and then won from there. So I think that he is he's a strong driver. I would say that I think disappointment for him is like P8, P9 or below, in my opinion. I think that we kind of build outside of two and three right now. Or sorry, one and two,
yeah,
where like you kind of expect him to be third, fourth, fifth, sixth, maybe
yeah,
even but I think that there is a lot of room for disappointment with him. He was very close to a disappointing drive in the Netherlands where he had the car issue. They swapped him around with Kimmy, and then he kind of came back up through um, pit stop craziness and also Kimmy with a big penalty. So I do think there is that factoring in that he could struggle. My pick is Isaac Hadjar. Um, he's coming off really great performance in the Netherlands. There's no way around it. He did great in the Netherlands. But at the same time, I think part of his charm is qualifying high and holding off drivers behind him. I don't think that'll happen at Monza. I just think there's more places to overtake. It's easier to follow. And I think that there's less in it for qualifying. And I think the car is going to kind of control where he ends up more than anything else. And I think that, he might not even get into the points for this race after such a commanding drive ending up on the podium in the Netherlands.
All right, you want to go with hot takes now?
Yeah, okay. So my hot take, um, it kind of goes in my race win prediction, but I have non-McLaren winning, and I think that it's a little bit more vague. It might help me out a little bit, give me some points. But I do see kind of an upset in the order here, and I think it might be Hamilton, it might be Leclerc, it could even be a George Russell, Max Verstappen uh, race. They've both won races this year. I just think we gotta have one of these races where it's not a McLaren one too. I'm really sick of listening to the McLarens go across one too. I mean, it's just we get the point. You're winning the constructors. Have fun, but like let me have a little bit of enjoyment out of this race weekend with a red shirt on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Mine's kind of out of left field, but I think Pierre Gasly is going to finish in the top eight, and I think I had him finishing in the points last week, and that did not
Hmm.
happen. But
Yeah.
he won this race in 2020 as the sole win in his career, and I know this place has a special place in his heart. He lives in Italy, and I think he's going to come here, have a very solid drive, and finish comfortably within the top eight.
I could see that. And I think that he's going to be as motivated as ever coming off of the Netherlands. I think that he's shown himself to be a strong driver. He was best of the rest last year of the drivers, I think. I do think that he's a really consistently good driver in the midfield. And I think that P8 is like when you look down the order, it's behind two McLarens, two Ferraris, likely, who knows at this point, two Mercedes, and two Red Bulls. I think that that's a strong. Obviously, that's not completely true. It switches up, but that's generally what the order is, given the top eight or so. I think that he could really have a strong drive here, and it's going to come down to strategy as well. And I think we saw a big part of the race last year with strategy, with the one stop coming through. I don't see that happening again. I think that any naivety from last year is going to be erased this year because the McLarens are kind of just this like evil, looming, consistent threat. Just always seem to perform. So we'll see.
Absolutely. It's going to be an awesome race. I'm sure
I I
there's a lot riding on it.
I need Ferrari to do well. I'm losing my mind. I would rather still be on summer break. I wish that the Dutch Grand Prix hadn't happened. I mean, that was just a great race, I guess. I could not enjoy it because I was watching two of my guys go into the wall. I watched Leclerc lose an entire front wing. It looked like he was driving like like a Subaru SUV or something. There's nothing coming out the front beyond the wheels. I felt like him watching on that, like watching the race in the bluff. It was just awful. I was in my
Yeah.
family. They're like, "How's the race going?" I was like, "Don't talk about it. Give me
Oh
a
my
few
God.
hours. I'll recover and I'll work from there." I mean,
I got I just sat down for breakfast. I was in this diner in the middle of West Virginia out of nowhere, and I looked down at my watch saying Lando DNF in all caps from you. And
yeah,
I was like, oh my Lord.
yeah. That
So
saved it a little bit. I don't see as many DNFs in Italy. Maybe we have one or two. Maybe we have something going to turn one. I just need Ferrari to do well. That is the bottom line. And I might quit Formula One if they DNF this race. I might, podcast might be over. Um, I need them to do well. So we will see,
yeah,
and we will go over it after it happens. Hopefully, I'm in a good mood. If not, I'm sorry, but it's because of Ferrari. So we will see you guys after the race to break it down and look forward. But great to talk again, and let us know what you think of what's going to happen in Italy.